Dispatched here to the 9900 block of Lynn Turner Road to a burglar alarm. At about the same time that that's happening, the alarm company is notifying the key holder, the manager of the business or representative of the business. So the officer's en route and the key holder's en route. The key holder arrives to the business just moments before the officer. This happened around 2:25. The business closed right at 2. According to the key holder, he thought maybe he had a malfunction with the alarm. He actually goes back in thinking that something had tripped with the alarm. Once he goes in, he reports that he saw an armed, masked suspect inside the business. He turned around and left right then. That same time that officer's coming up, he saw the man described as a key holder enter the business. Then he sees him come right back out. He's followed by a masked, armed suspect. The officer's outside of his car, sees the suspect. He's armed with 2 guns, one of which is a assault-looking rifle. The other is another scoped rifle. Gives repeated instructions to the suspect, who's still armed, still masked, to drop the guns and get on the ground. Repeated instructions are not followed. The suspect fails to comply. The officer fires at the suspect a few times at least, one of which strikes the suspect in the leg. 2 rounds actually struck the rifles that the suspect was holding. The suspect goes on the ground, is taken into custody by the officer. The suspect is transferred to UF Shands. He's got non-life-threatening injuries at this time. The officer will be, as per our standard protocol, placed on administrative leave. This is in the last 24 hours. Around the same time yesterday morning, we had an officer that was fired on by suspects. Later yesterday evening, we had fire rescue that were fired on. And then this morning, got another suspect confronts an officer with 2 guns and fails to follow the officer's directions. These men and women in public safety leave their families to come out to do a job that they're hired to do by the citizens of Jacksonville. It is a very dangerous job in and of itself. When they're confronted with these extra dangers like this, it highlights the sacrifice that these men and women make to perform their duties for the citizens of Jacksonville, to keep them safe. It highlights the need for those people we encounter to comply with our orders. The man who was doing this burglary, who was armed with these guns, he was in control. First of all, he could have not done the burglary, not armed himself with these guns, or followed the instructions of the officers to avoid him having to use deadly force on the suspect. It really is. It's Christmas season. You certainly you feel for these officers who are in these situations to use deadly force. You don't come on this job hoping to use deadly force or wanting to. You know it's a part of what you may have to do, but it's another part that you need to go home with your family every night. And that's certainly highlighted here in the last 24 hours in the city of Jacksonville.
There's a backlash across the country right now against law enforcement. Do you think there's any escalated violence because of this, or is this day-to-day stuff you guys deal with all the time?
This is a call. If you look at the number of burglar alarms that the sheriff's office responds to on a daily basis, this happens time and time again. While we're sitting here talking, I'm sure there's been other alarms that have gone out multiple times throughout the day. These seemingly innocuous type calls go out. Last night it was an abandoned car next to a house. Tonight it's a burglar alarm. These are the kind of things that the officers throughout the country, but here in the city of Jacksonville, I can certainly say, are faced with repeatedly, night after night, day after day. It highlights just the unknown risk that they face. There's a nationwide trend of things going on, but here in the city of Jacksonville, this is the day-to-day part of the job that they face.
How is the officer doing this?
He's shaken up. He's fine. He wasn't injured. He actually slipped a little bit during the scuffle, but he's fine.
How about the key holder?
Key holder is obviously shaken up. He again comes to his business thinking it's just a routine thing. He goes in and finds an armed masked suspect inside of the business. Pretty shaken up.
Did he handle the situation correctly?
Yeah. This is, again, these go on repeatedly. This is standard protocol for the way this happens.
Because of the national trend you just mentioned, is this a time where officers have each other's backs even more than ever before?
Our officers are always looking out for each other. You want to make sure that everyone goes home safely, that your partner goes home safely, that the officers that surround you go home safely. this is no different than any other day and any other night. You want to make sure that you do what you do. Our officers are trained very, very well. I'd say some of the best training that in the nation that they could possibly receive. Their tactics and training are really hands down, and this is the kind of thing that really shows that you use firearms discipline. You only deploy deadly force when you need to. It is not something that is done on a haphazard basis.
Let me ask him real quick.
Director Tom Hackney, thank you so much. We're going to have a full recap for you coming up at 5:30. An officer is doing okay, fired at a burglary suspect this morning, shot in the leg, taken to the hospital, and the officer is on